So let's do a little bit of an overview, kind of chop together some of the clips of doing the install on this, but let's go over some of the pitfalls and the issues slash things we had to solve to get this thing up and running. First of all, we actually in the past have had really good luck with the old carburetor. We had to clean it a few times in the last few years, but recently I think it is just too corroded, and no matter what we did rebuilding it, it just doesn't run well anymore. And so the kind of the 2025 approach to that is you just put fuel injection on it and it runs perfectly, because that's what fuel injection is designed to do on an engine. It has a lot more ways to compensate for all the different changes and load conditions and things like that. And so we went with the Holley Sniper 2300, and then we got all the parts from Redline. We went over it in the beginning of the video. Redline Land Cruisers makes the adapters and things like that for this. Redline does not sell this Holley. You can get it on like Summit Racing and Jegs and Holley's website. Every once in a while they do a sale. We got this one for around $1,000. This is the non-premium kit. We did our own fuel pump and everything. They sell one that has a fuel pump that comes with the kit, but it is just doing fuel right now. Right now we have the Davis Unified Ignition, the HEI style ignition. This doesn't have the 7-pin ignition module that allows you to control it. Right now it's just standalone. It just runs, it's got a set timing curve, and it works fantastic. So we haven't touched it. We are planning to take it apart and do the HEI module that allows you to adjust the timing on the inside, but we're not doing that yet. We got it up and running and working great, and everything's good so far. We did the 3/8 hard lines for the fuel from Redline. So you can see it comes from both sides. There's 1, 2, both sides of that Holley unit, and then comes down and just goes along the frame rail. And then we've got a check valve because the fuel pump we have doesn't have an integrated check. And then we have to go from 3/8 to 5/16 down at the bottom. That's the return line that goes to the factory line. This is still a work in progress. Like, this is a restoration project that's still in progress. So there's a lot of things that aren't tidied up, a lot of open wires. So it doesn't look perfect, but we have also a EFI high pressure fuel filter over there. And then that guy goes underneath, and if you can see, we go under here, cross over, and then it comes under basically where the running board would be, goes into the fuel pump. The fuel pump's got 10 gauge wire going to it, and this one goes up to the Sniper, so the Sniper actually controls this fuel pump, which is really nice. It has a fuel pump relay built in. And then we have a line to the bottom of the tank. And the reason I've done this is because it's the most free flow way to get fuel from this. Otherwise you're sucking through like a tiny old line that's meant to just draw through for a carburetor. But with the demand of this, I just went straight to the bottom of the tank. I've done this on a couple FJ40s and haven't had any problems. So I think it's like an it's like M10 1.5 or M12 1.5 to 6AN, 6AN to the barb, and then comes around in 3/8 high pressure fuel line. Even though this is a low pressure line, just did it all high pressure, good quality fuel line. This is a low pressure filter from Napa. This is what the Holley kit suggests, and then it goes into a Walboro fuel pump. We got this at walborofuelpumps.com. I think it's a Walboro like 119 or something like that. It's just an inline simple fuel pump. It's not anything crazy because we're not trying to make a ton of power. And then just goes the high pressure fuel line, this is 3/8, up to the check valve. So the check valve's up there, and then it goes up. So that's basically what we did here. We just went under the car, kept all this stuff tucked up so you can't see it. We're gonna put the running boards on, get everything tidied up, and that will be the fuel section of this. Let's go around. What we had to do on the exhaust is we needed to put in the O2 sensor. So there's a wideband O2 sensor, and we ended up welding it in. There's a connection, so like all the connections for the wiring, we just ran through the firewall on the driver's side over here on the FJ40. It's just like the factory area where like the loom comes through for your lights and everything. So we came through that wall with all the connectors. We had to de-pin them to get them through, but that goes over and into the back of the sniper. So the sniper, actually, the ECU and everything is inside of it. So it's all back in there, and all the wiring just comes along here and hangs out. Like I said, this thing is far from complete. So there's those two, they come around here and they're good to go. The coil negative trigger and the turn on 12 volt goes over to this other side, and they connect in here. We just found a 12 volt switch source that we connected it to that just turns that on. The actual sniper unit itself needs positive and negative directly to the batteries. So we've got those, both sides right here. So it just connects up, goes back. We ran everything through the interior, so it goes up, inside, and over for the power, so that it's all out of the engine bay, not in harm's way or environmentally gonna cause any issues, get burned up or anything. So yep, that goes, that's this wire right here, goes up in, and it's all heat shrinked. We have heat shrink tubing twisted. I think this is 12 gauge TXL wire that we used on that. So anyway, it's about that simple. As far as the wiring goes, like you just need positive and negative 12 volt all the way back to the sniper. It has some wires and a fuse and everything. And then the sniper has its own, it's actually this blue wire that we haven't tucked away yet, but this is the blue wire that goes down to the fuel pump. So it's the positive feed with a relay that is part of the sniper system. And then we just grounded it to a really good chassis ground that shares the same grounding point as the battery. So that's pretty much it on the wiring. Like, it's very low wiring, but overall this is not plug and play, like in pretty much any way, shape, or form. Like you get parts from Redline that help you, but they don't, it doesn't completely solve all of your problems. So don't expect to do this super straightforwardly without doing a little bit of customization and some fabrication. You can see down in there, if I can actually get it to focus, there's the Redline fuel pump block off plate. You can probably find those in a lot of different places if you're not looking to buy from them. The Redline also has this aluminum anodized heat shield that protects from the exhaust heat up to this unit here. And they also sell this adapter that goes to the stock air cleaner. So if you're looking to run the stock air cleaner, have that stock engine appearance, that's kind of where the Redline stuff shines. You can get that from them. There's that adapter we went over in the beginning. It just adapts from the OEM style carburetor flange up to the 2300 Holley flange. And then in other parts of the video, I think you were able to see the brackets for the throttle cable. This was the most frustrating or difficult part because it doesn't really work just with, you have to make it work. You have to fabricate it. Like this, we had to drill this out as per Redline's instructions. And then the slits to get the wires or the cable through in these plates was a little too tight. So we had to like actually cut those with a grinder. This has some adjustment here. So we were able to angle it up to get it somewhat straight in line. And then yeah, the throttle cable you can cut to length as per their instructions, and we did. And then there's a plate back there. Hold on, let's see if we can get to it. I've shown this already, but if you're interested, that plate, that bracket, we've had to actually modify it. We had to bend it to line up more reasonably with the throttle lever arm that comes through the firewall, and we had to drill that out to make it work. It is all there. There's just not really good instructions from Redline. I'm assuming they just usually do this stuff for their restorations, and they don't put their effort into making it as like a kit for people. They do sell it, but the instructions are very sparse. The best thing to do is call them if you can actually get a hold of them. We had to call a few times to actually get the right person that knew about the Holley stuff. But other than that, like if you're willing to kind of push through some of these little obstacles, then it's fine. The lines aren't perfectly bent from them. We had to kind of bend them just a little bit to get them to fit, and that's kind of expected. I mean, these engines are all like 50 plus years old. There's going to be variances in where stuff is and where they're mounted. They don't come with a mount, so they're just connected. Those fuel lines, they're just connected up at the unit there, and then they come down and they're just hanging. So we need to make some sort of bracket so these things aren't just loose, because right now, and that's just how Redline, they don't have like a solution for that. They have these little clamps to keep them separated, but yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that is major to this. Let me just show you real quick on the exhaust. We have a long tube header on this side. Hold on, see if I can fit it in there, but there's the top of the wideband O2 sensor. They give you a clamp that you can just clamp it with a gasket and a drilled hole, but we just decided to weld it up, seal it up, and make sure it's good to go. But yeah, there's just the header. You want to put this wideband after the collector, so all the cylinders are mixed together, and get a really good seal on this so you don't get any air leaks in there that would give the sensor an incorrect reading. And anyway, there's that. Let's go to the cabin side real quick. Let's see. So we just use like this suction cup mount for this. There's a bunch of different ways people mount that, but for now, this works pretty good. It just runs up and in and through the same part of the firewall, and it connects right here. The only annoying thing about these Holley snipers is you have to undo this CAN bus connection that feeds the dash in order to tune it with a laptop. So you can do most of the stuff from this just to get you up and running, but if you want to use a laptop, you actually have to unplug this. I come from a background of tuning, and I tune a handful of different brand of ECUs, and I haven't actually tuned like the full size Holley ECUs, but this sniper system is a little bit painful to mess with, like the way they do firmware updates, the way that you connect to it, and have to disconnect the monitor and everything to connect to it. I'm sure there's a way you can split that and have the CAN bus split out differently in that, but the way it just comes as the kit, it's a little bit janky in my opinion. Sorry if anyone's liking them. They do work really well as far as like tunability and stuff. They work great, but yeah, I'm not super impressed with that, albeit that's not the most important part. The most important part is that it runs correctly and drives really well. But anyway, that's where we have this mounted, and with very minimal tuning. Let me I need to just basically chalk up the wheels here, and then we can show you with very minimal tuning, this thing fires right up and runs better than the carburetor ever has. Especially we're at high altitude, and so being able to compensate for altitude without changing jets is really nice on the fly. So anyway, overall, I still would say highly suggest this conversion. It runs absolutely fantastic with minimal amount of tuning. We've just gone in and made some basic changes, tried to remap the fuel for this altitude and engine and everything, and it runs and drives. Like, we immediately were able to run and drive it down the road. So hopefully that covers it. I may split this into 2 different videos because it's so long, but hopefully you guys, if anyone's looking, this helps you out in some way. It's not really like a how-to, it's just stuff that we did and where we put it, and hopefully that helps someone else. So yeah, if you're looking for like a how-to install guide, it's not really in this video, but I'll put up all the other kind of stuff that we did in the next video. So cool, there's the Holley Sniper, and let me get this thing chalked up, and then we'll show you firing it up and how it runs. So I'm just going to show you, it's a fairly cold day, around 40 degrees, and to show you, you just turn the key, this guy fires up, you can hear the fuel pump go, and just fires right up. Like, that was key flick fire up. I mean, it does work really well, honestly. This thing's awesome, and it has good closed loop fueling and learning. But yeah, here, I'll just I'll shut it off again here, and you can just see, one thing I always liked about carburation was, like, you could basically, if it was tuned right and it was warm, you could flick the key and it would start. But like, this is like, I mean, just that easy, right? And you get to see everything. You don't have to guess. Like, these old gauges, like, you don't, you know, like, what is the actual temp and everything, and your voltage and stuff. Like, you don't actually have to even guess. It's all right here. You got air intake temp, you got coolant temperature, RPM, active, you're getting like live air fuel ratios. So anyway, it's so far this thing runs like a champ, you know. So okay, just to give you a little drive here. I mean, it pulls really nice, just cruises. And we've done minimal tuning. Also, there's nothing like the way an FJ40 shifts. There's just something overly mechanical and just fun about it. It's just old school. Yeah, I mean, she drives real nice. Let's see, we can just go on a little cruise. Okay, let me row through some gears for you. Yep, she just cruises. It's the best thing about modernizing an old vehicle, is like, it makes it more drivable. You want to use it, you want to drive it. So it's just great.